Welcome to the Connect to Virtual Machine tutorial. Many labs that teach networking or security skills will rely on tools that are made to be ran from a command line interface, or CLI. This is also true for the majority of labs performed on Genie infrastructure. However, you may find certain tasks become much easier or are more familiar to you while using a graphical user interface, or GUI. This tutorial will provide a walkthrough for setting up both CLI and GUI on a machine hosted on the Genie infrastructure. This video is for users that are on a Windows machine. To provide the GUI on the Genie machine using Windows, we will be using PuTTY for SSH connections and using Virtual Network Computing, or VNC, for GUI. Here's an overview of the steps we're going to perform. We'll connect to the Genie machine with PuTTY, run VNC on our Genie machine, install a VNC client on our host machine, and connect to the VNC server on the Genie machine. Let's begin. For step 1, we'll connect to the Genie machine with PuTTY. We will assume that you already have a machine up and running in the Genie environment. We also assume that you'll be able to find the URI used to connect to this machine through the Genie portal in the details section of your slice, which can be found if you go to your slice, then go to your Details tab. If you're having trouble finding this information, please refer back to the tutorial called Setup Lab. We will need a client to connect to our Genie machine. For this tutorial, we will be using PuTTY as our client. If you don't already have PuTTY, feel free to download it now from the following web page seen here on the screen. Go ahead and click on the latest version download link here towards the top of the page. To use PuTTY with the Genie infrastructure, we'll need to generate a PuTTY private key. This is done through the Genie portal. If we go over to where our username is here on the top toolbar, click on SSH keys, and that will take us to an SSH keys page. You want to click on the Download PuTTY Key button. For your key, you must add a passphrase, and you need to make it something that you can remember. Once you've added in a passphrase, click on the Download PuTTY Key button to get your key. You'll want to keep it in a safe place on your Windows host. We'll be using it for PuTTY very soon. I already have a PuTTY key on my machine, so I won't demonstrate the download process, but it's just as you would download any other file. If you forget the passphrase in the future, don't worry. All you'll have to do is make another PuTTY key. So open the PuTTY client on your Windows host. We will be configuring a terminal session that also acts as a tunnel for our VNC connection to our Genie machine. So we have PuTTY open here, and notice the category tabs on the left side of the window display different settings that can be changed to make our connection. First, we're going to configure the session tab that we have open here with our Genie URI and port number. You'll see it's in this section up here at the top. To get this information, we want to go back to the URI information page on our Genie portal for our slice. So go ahead and navigate to Slices, navigate back to your slice, click on the Details tab, and your URI information will be pulled up here. Now, you'll see for each machine, you'll see most likely multiple different SSH lines. Only one of these lines are yours. The other lines are for administrators on the project, such as your instructor. To determine which line is yours, you'll want to come to your top toolbar here, hover over your name, and then you'll want to click on Profile. This will lead you to the account summary page. Now look for the line that says Genie username. It's this line right here. We see that for our Genie user, our username is ParkGenie. Now keep that name in mind. Head back to your slice details page and wait for your URI information to come up again. Now look back down at the SSH lines and find the one that has your username that you just saw. You'll see this first line here has ParkGenie on it, so that is the SSH information that we need to use to log in as the Genie user on our Genie machine. The login commands listed here are used to connect to Genie through an SSH client. We'll need to copy specific pieces of it into the hostname and port fields in PuTTY. Let's break it into pieces. We see we have our command here, ssh park genie at pc1.instagenie.umkc.edu -p 26410. We need to copy the portion starting with our username up through .edu into the field called hostname on the session tab. So we'll start here. We'll copy all of this with Control-C into our hostname field. We'll go ahead and get rid of the -p here. Now the port number here at the end, we need to copy it into the port field right by our hostname field. Now you should have that addressing information good to go. This is what your two fields should look like now. Now we need to configure PuTTY to use our PuTTY private key we generated earlier in this tutorial. To do this, we want to look at the panel on the left side of PuTTY. Towards the bottom, you'll see a tab called Connection. Expanding Connection, which it is already expanded here by default, will show you another tab called SSH. Expanding SSH will show more tabs, one of which is a tab called Auth. We want to click on Auth. Now we want to click Browse, this Browse button here towards the bottom of our Auth tab, and we want to locate the PuTTY private key that we downloaded earlier. For this tutorial demonstration, I have mine stored in a simple keys folder. You'll want to make sure yours is stored in a more secure location. We'll select it and click OK, and now it's uploaded the path to the private key file to our Auth tab, and PuTTY will be able to use that private key to authenticate login to Genie. Since we're trying to make a tunnel for our VNC client to connect through to, we will require a few additional configurations to make for our PuTTY terminal. We want to navigate back to this left side here, and underneath the Auth tab, we want to select the X11 tab. We want to click on the checkbox that says Enable X11 Forwarding. Then we want to go to the Tunnels tab, which is right below the X11, and set up a source port and destination. In the source port field in the middle of the menu, input 5901. On the destination field right below it, input the IP address 127.0.0.1. This is your localhost loopback address, :5901. After that, click on the Add button. This will add the tunnel to a list right up above. One last thing we're going to do is head back to the Connection tab, and we're going to check the box that says Enable TCP Keep Alives. What this will do is allow your PuTTY connection to your Genie machine to persist even if you're inactive for a long period of time, instead of PuTTY just automatically disconnecting the session to your Genie machine after so much time of inactivity. Before we connect, we're going to head back up to our Session tab and show you one more thing. With PuTTY, you can save configurations, so that way you can quickly load up a session configuration and reconnect to your machine without having to go through all the steps we just did again. To do that, navigate to your Save Sessions field right here in the middle of the menu and input a name for your session. We're going to call ours Genie User vPark. Then click on the Save button. Now, anytime we want to connect to this specific machine again with these settings, we just highlight our name of our session here that we saved, and we click the Load button. And everything will be loaded back in, from your host name information all the way to your SSH key path being loaded into Auth automatically. Make sure you name your saved session something meaningful that allows you to recognize which lab it is that you're loading a session for. Now that we've done all this, we'll go ahead and click on the Open button. We'll be presented with a security alert here. Just go ahead and click Yes through that. Now you need to enter in the password that you set for your PuTTY key. It's usually best to set your key to be the same password that you have for your Genie profile. That's pretty easy to remember. Alright, now you have a command line interface on the virtual machine for Genie, and we have established a tunnel connection for our VNC client to connect through. Our next step will show you how you can get your GUI environment up and running. So first we'll issue a command to start the VNC server. The command is VNC server. Pretty simple, right? You'll need a password to set for your desktop server. Enter in the password you'd like to choose, and then we'll choose the N option when we're presented with the read-only password prompt. You'll see this output here, creating new X desktop and other information, creating default startup scripts and such here. This lets you know that your VNC server has successfully started up. Now, we'll go ahead and install a VNC client on our host machine. We need to get a VNC client on our host machine so that we can connect to our new VNC server that we just made. We recommend using VNC Viewer, which can be found on the Real VNC webpage. If you go to realvnc.com/en/connect/download/viewer. You can select the operating system you're running and then download VNC Viewer. I've already downloaded VNC Viewer on my machine, so I won't demonstrate this part of the process. If you're on a machine that does not allow you to download and install software, there is also a standalone EXE version that you can download onto a flash drive and then run from there. Now we want to open up our VNC Viewer program, and near the top is an input field to enter the location of our PuTTY tunnel. Since we binded this tunnel to 127.0.0.1:5901, we should be able to type in localhost:5901. Now we hit enter, and we'll be presented with this alert. Go ahead and click continue through it. Now enter in the password that you set for your VNC server earlier in this tutorial. And now we have pulled up the VNC server GUI environment. A very important note, and you want to make sure to always do this. You're presented with this panel whenever you load into VNC Viewer. You're presented with this panel the first time that you load into VNC server through a GUI. You want to click on the Use Default Config button. This will give you a panel at the bottom of the screen with some shortcut panels that are very useful, such as a panel to open up terminal and the file system very easily. And it also allows you to do some other things like managing your windows. So you can take a look around now. You'll have access to a graphic web browser as well as a terminal program. Now your environment has the best of both worlds. If you have other questions about vPark, such as how you extend the lifetime of a slice, upload and download documents, or how to get the tab key to work in VNC Viewer, you can answer all of those questions and more by referencing the FAQ vPark document. And you'll find on there both pictures and stats demonstrating how to get answers to common questions you may have with setting up and working with vPark and VNC Viewer. If you have to stop working on your lab project and resume working on it at a later time, please note that whenever you log back into your Genie machine, you do not want to re-enter the VNC server command again in order to access your VNC server. As long as your Genie machine instance persists, your VNC server will stay up. So whenever you, for example, close your VNC session, like we'll demonstrate here, and then close your PuTTY session to Genie, all you'll want to do is open PuTTY back up, load your saved session for your lab, like so, and log in. From here, don't input the VNC server command again. All you'll do is create a new VNC server instance. The one you created the first time you set up your lab is still currently running. In order to access it, go to VNC Viewer and open up localhost 5901 again, input your server password, and you can pick up right back where you left off. It's important that you follow these steps when resuming a lab at a later time, so that you don't end up starting up and running unnecessary VNC servers on your machine, which will slow it down and cause performance issues for you.